What's going on, everyone? My name is Jasmine. On today's episode of The Slam Project, we're going to be talking about the disappearance of the Jones cousins. Shawn and Leslie Jones were 14 and 15 years old when they disappeared in 1993 from Ontario. And because over 30 years have passed since they disappeared, many believe that foul play is involved in their disappearances. Don't forget to check out my other videos, and if you want to see more videos on missing and murdered Indigenous people, click that subscribe button and the notification bell. Now let's get right into it. The unceded territory of the Chippewas of Nawash is located about 240 kilometers from Toronto and located between the Georgian Bay and Lake Huron. In 1992, it was renamed from the Cape Croker First Nation to Nea-Shingaming, which means a point of land surrounded on three sides by water in the Ojibwe language. At the time, the population on the reservation was about 700. In 1993, 14-year-old Shawn Stephen Lee Jones lived on the reservation with his mother Lynette Jones and grandmother Margaret. He was the oldest of her 4 children. Shawn had just graduated from the 8th grade and begun high school in the nearby town of Lions Head, Ontario. He was a fairly good kid up until he began acting out when he made it to high school. He began getting aggressive with Lynette. She would sometimes have to call the cops on him because of his behavior. She would sometimes look through his room and find prescription pills, and she stated that he would sometimes consume alcohol. Shawn was still very dependent on his mom. Lynette had stated that he could not cook or do laundry. Despite these difficulties, Lynette provided him with a good home and was saving up to enroll Shawn in hockey lessons. Shawn had a 15-year-old cousin named Leslie Dwayne Jones. They grew up together on the Cape Croker Reserve, and Leslie stayed in the area with his stepmother Lynn and father Philip from age 2 to 13. Leslie then moved to Winnipeg for a while to stay with his biological mom, whose name was Frances Waukee. In 1993, Leslie moved back to Cape Croker and started living with his uncle. He also attended the same high school as Shawn did in Lions Head. 2 weeks before they vanished, Leslie began staying with Shawn at his mother's house. It has never been stated why Leslie was not staying with his dad or uncle, but his dad did say in one article that he knew that Leslie was having some type of problem at school. But Leslie never really talked much about it, and his dad Philip does not know what the problem was at school. The 2 teenagers did not attend school regularly, and this was causing problems for Lynette. Children's Aid had told her that they would take her children away if Shawn's behavior did not improve. As a result, she told Shawn that Leslie had to move out, and she hoped that Shawn's behavior would become better. However, I am not entirely sure if Leslie had moved out by the time the pair went missing. Lynette would say that a few days before her son went missing, she would give him $250 to buy hockey equipment, but he did not do so, and they had words about it. But things calmed down a little bit, and she would continue to give him an allowance to go out with his friends. Early newspaper reports of the teen's disappearance conflict with later statements by Shawn's mother, but their disappearances were not taken seriously at first because authorities believed that they were running from the law and would return or call home, but they never did. The first newspaper article I could find was from January 1994. This was after Christmas, when the police believed that they would return or call home. As a result, there is not a lot of information out there, and the early newspaper articles appear to be skewed. I am going to use information from Lynette Jones's interview with the London Free Press on July 17, 2021, to break down some of the following timeline of events. On October 22, 1993, Lynette had given Shawn $10 to attend a dance at his high school, and he caught a ride into Lions Head. Lynette eventually drifted off to bed, but was expecting Shawn back sometime during the night. She would later say that after the dance, Shawn and his cousin Leslie had gotten into some trouble and took off. She did not elaborate on what kind of trouble they were in. But when she woke up the next morning, Shawn was not in his room. She began to look around and noticed that her mother's car was gone, and the $500 she was saving for Shawn's hockey lessons was also missing. It is believed that Shawn and Leslie had returned to the house during the night. Then Shawn had taken the cash from his mom while she slept, and then he stole his grandma's car. This stolen car was eventually found wrecked near Barrow Bay, in the direction going back to Lion's Head. Police would tell Lynette that after looking at the scene where the car was found, that whoever was the driver had suffered injuries that caused them to bleed. The car was towed away to a wrecking yard and nobody related to Shawn or Leslie ever went to view it. The night of the crash, there were reports of cottages being broken into and a red canoe was stolen. This canoe was found overturned the same night the crash happened in the same general area as the crash site. It has never been confirmed if this was connected to Shawn and Leslie. But according to a summary released by the Ontario Provincial Police, the boys were hitchhiking from Cape Croker to Wyerton on October 24, 1993. This was 2 days after the high school dance, so it seems as if the boys were laying low for a good day or so after the car crash. They were picked up and dropped off in downtown Wyerton. Lynette received a tip around this time that said her son Shawn and Leslie were in Wyerton. The police gathered arrest warrants and went to the home they were thought to be at. But when they arrived, the boys slipped out the back door and got away. The next sighting of the two teenagers was in Owen Sound in front of a Tim Hortons coffee shop on 9th Street, sometime between October 26th and October 28th. Leslie had an uncle who lived in Owen Sound and ran into him. The uncle said Leslie asked for some money and he gave him $5. Leslie also told his uncle that him and his friend were sleeping in cars. According to the uncle, Leslie was with another person who fit the description of Shawn, but it was never determined that this was him. And according to the Ontario Provincial Police, the last confirmed sighting of Shawn was outside the Pacific Hotel located on Burford Street in Wyerton. It was not stated when this was, but I think maybe this was before they made it to Owen Sound. The police file on this case includes several binders of information. In the London Free Press article in July 2021, Sergeant Vince Warfel with the First Nation Police has stated that there has been no actual confirmed sighting of the boys after they were missing for a significant amount of time. And there was a couple reports of them being in two different major Canadian cities. The first alleged sighting was in Vancouver, BC. In September 1994, Sergeant Wayne Stevens with the Cape Croker Police said that they had confirmed reports of the boys being in British Columbia, and he said that they know how to get quote-unquote help. This contradicts what Sergeant Warfel said in 2021. There were articles in the newspaper in November 1994 that said Leslie's mother, Frances, in Winnipeg was fundraising to make her way to Vancouver to search for the teenagers. I could not find if she ever made it there or not. The next sighting was of Leslie. He was allegedly spotted on Wellesley Street in Toronto in the late summer of 1996. As a result of this, many family members of both boys traveled to Toronto to search the streets for any signs of them. It was also believed that Shawn and Leslie could have gone to Winnipeg where Leslie's mother lived, but she never heard from the boys either. And Clara Smith, who is Leslie's grandmother, believes that someone in Owen Sound knows something because that was the last confirmed sighting of Leslie. There was a disturbing comment by Nick Oldreeve, who is the co-founder of Please Bring Me Home. The organization helps families of missing children, and he said that an anonymous donor has put up a $10,000 reward for information on the boys, whether they are dead or alive. But Nick said that some of Leslie's relatives have said that he is alive and doing his own thing. He did not say who exactly was saying this, but Leslie's father, mother, stepmother, and grandma are on the record saying that they miss him and have searched for him after he went missing. They are still holding out hope that he will walk in the door one day and introduce his family to them. In my opinion, the people who are saying Leslie is alive need to be thoroughly investigated. Private investigator Brian Follis is also working with the families of Shawn and Leslie. But because this case is so old, finding out information on certain things can be like finding a needle in a haystack. He is attempting to find the owner of the red canoe to follow up with its owner. He is also searching wrecking yards in an attempt to find the car that belonged to Shawn's grandmother. Lynette Jones has said her main goal in life is to find Shawn and bring him home. She believes he is no longer alive, but wants to give him a proper burial. Leslie's father, Philip, stated in a May 1994 article that he wished he told his son he loved him more often. What happened to the Jones cousins? Did they meet with foul play, or are they simply just out there living their lives? Because of their ages at the time, it is hard to believe that they could still be out there after all this time without contacting anybody they knew. But it is possible, and this has happened before with other missing people. Leslie Jones is a dark-complected First Nations. He was 15 years old the last time he was seen by his family. He was 5 feet 6 inches tall at the time and weighed about 150 pounds. He had dark short hair and wore braces on the top and bottom teeth. He was wearing a gray and white nylon coat, brown cargo pants, a baggy white shirt, black running shoes, and a black and red baseball cap. It is stated that he may use his mother's last name of Waukee. Shawn Jones is a light-complected First Nations. He was 14 years old when last seen by his family. He was between 5 feet 7 and 5 feet 10 inches tall and between 130 and 160 pounds. He had brown shoulder-length hair that was in a mullet hairstyle. He was also known to be wearing a black t-shirt, blue jeans, and white running shoes. He smoked cigarettes and preferred the brand Players Light. Please contact authorities if you have any information about the disappearance of Shawn and Leslie Jones. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you knew Shawn or Leslie, please share any memories of them, and I will see you in my next video.